All right, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. This is my post-market wrap-up on this more than interesting Tuesday. Crazy day. On July 14, 2020, people, we have to talk. So what I want you to do is sit down, take a deep breath, and let's put this all together. Let's start off with this. A screaming rally on Wall Street today. You should not be surprised about this because I told you yesterday in my post-market report, more than likely we'd see stocks up today or I wouldn't be surprised. It's very simple. I explained to you yesterday why the stock market sold off into the close yesterday. We had a nice rally yesterday. Stocks were off to the races. Then all of a sudden, OPEC, remember this? OPEC comes out talking about how they're going to be curbing their production cuts with crude oil. That sent crude in a downward spiral, like 2.5%, pulled the stock market down with it. I explained to you that when the market gets news like that, especially from OPEC, because of the importance of crude oil in this market, it takes a day or two for the market to digest the news. Well, that's exactly how it played out today. If you understand the markets to a very high level, these kinds of things will make sense to you, and I outline it for you all the time. Yes, crude oil did turn around today and get bid higher, but that's not what drove stocks in this rally today. We're going to talk about that, and it deserves our attention again, so sit down and relax. Let's talk about some other assets here. Cryptocurrencies, flat. Gold and silver, relatively flat on the day. The 10-year yield, 0.63. I already talked about crude oil catching a bid here, and the dollar got weaker. Again, a weaker dollar is stock market positive. Why? Because everything is priced in dollars. So if the dollar falls in purchasing power, it takes more weaker dollars to buy anything, even a share of stock. You understand? People always ask me, so why is a weaker dollar so important? And why does President Trump, or did he, keep beating a dead horse about we need a weaker dollar, we need a weaker dollar. The Fed's behind the curve. The Fed needs to weaken the dollar. Never once did he explain to you or we, the American people, how a weaker dollar would help us. Sure, it doesn't hurt him. He's a billionaire, right? But for people out here that are not billionaires, it may affect your ability to gather things. Anyway, again, that's part of the political game. Let's not go there. So, what we need to focus on here is what drove this market to a ripping rally. Earlier today, I explained to you what they typically do is they're going to float out a Fed president. Well, as if like I'm psychic, and I'm really not, although I'm starting to think maybe I am. They did float out a Fed president today, Brainerd. And Fed President Brainerd is trying to sell you on a tremendous lie. I mean, are you surprised? The Federal Reserve, if you know my work, I consider the Federal Reserve public enemy number one. That's it. They are public enemy number one in everything they're doing, especially now as they're trying to fulfill their final solution, is not in your best interest, if you find that too hard to believe. You have to understand, the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, that was a date that will live in infamy. That's when they started working their plan, and they had a plan since day one. Their plan since day one is to do what they're doing today. That is to be the lender and buyer of last resort so they can own not just the United States, but the entire world. It is unstoppable. I'm going to touch on politics real quick, so just sit down. No two presidents have been a better friend to the Federal Reserve than Barack Obama and President Trump. Both of these men have let the Federal Reserve, not just let, but have called on the Federal Reserve to run amok. No restraint whatsoever. Print, 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 create cash out of thin air, buy the debt, buy assets. Now that brings me to Fed President Brainerd and the lie she is trying to sell you. I do not want you to buy it. Okay, this is just her. But it's been other Fed presidents who are floating this out. What is Greg talking about? Yield curve control. They're trying to sell you a lie that they're considering yield curve control. Let me explain this to you. The Federal Reserve has been directly, not indirectly, directly controlling the yield curve since quantitative easing 1. I've said this a million times, but I'm getting a lot of new subs lately. I want you to pay attention to this. How does the Federal Reserve affect the yield curve and keep rates low? Have you ever thought about it? If you follow my blog, or if you've been with me for a while, you know exactly how it's done, but I'm going to tell you. The Fed, number one, has no magical powers, although they are the most evil institution on the face of the earth. They don't possess any kind of godlike power whatsoever. When the Federal Reserve says they're going to suppress rates, they're going to keep them low, or you have a president of the United States calling for negative rates, you know I'm referring to President Trump, the Federal Reserve has to create cash out of thin air in epic amounts, trillions of it, and they have to get into the debt market and buy the debt. You understand? Directly rigging, directly controlling the yield curve. So, when Fed President Brainerd came out today, she's talking about yield curve control, which means what? Epic. Off the freaking Richter scale amounts of more cash they're going to create out of thin air to rig the debt market even more. And what did that do? It sent stocks skyrocketing today. Again, this goes back to what I've been trying to tell you for the longest time. We have not seen anything yet. In order for the Federal Reserve to finish its plan, okay, we're right in the heart of it right now. They're funneling trillions of dollars around the world to other central banks to buy assets. They themselves are being called upon by members of Congress. It happened today. Elizabeth Warren calling for the Fed to do more, meaning issue more debt. You understand? I've explained to you since forever. It's one party. Democrats and Republicans all go to the Federal Reserve so they can borrow more. And the Fed could not possibly be more happy than to issue more debt. It helps them fulfill their goal, their end game, which is to rule the world. This is the truth. This is why the Fed was created. I mean, you could take my word for it, or you could do a little research and understand how the Fed works. Okay? Central banking is an animal unlike anything else. And when they took over in 1913, that was their goal. Number one, to at one point in the future have a situation arise or create a situation that would allow them to do what they're doing today. The Federal Reserve is responsible for COVID-19. The Federal Reserve, through a black ops operation, okay, is the responsible party for shutting down the global economy so they can get in here and buy everything. By killing the money velocity, by killing the global economy, they stop the flow of cash through the economy, you understand, around the world. This allows them to print whatever they want in any amount and buy assets. This was by design, no accident. Understand, and our politicians are going to play right into it. If they have to shut down whatever they got to shut down again, because you understand, they're all puppets, every one of them. We do not have a representative democracy here in the United States. It's the Federal Reserve who now is in 100% control. Not only 100% control, but when you hear a politicians, a particular party calling for more debt, or a president calling for negative rates, You realize what's going on. They're empowering the Fed to an even greater degree because the more debt that a central bank issues, and we're talking about the Federal Reserve here, they get exponentially more powerful. You understand? That's what they're doing here. So understand the lie you are being sold right now is yield curve control. The Fed has been controlling the yield curve since 2008. And you can expect all this to get monumentally worse. The debt acquisition, the debt issuance, and asset acquisition by the Federal Reserve has not even begun. Their $7 trillion balance sheet, the one we're allowed to see, the Fed has two balance sheets, you know that. They're going to explode along with debts. Okay, we just found out that our deficit last month exceeded all of last year. Is this a surprise to you if you follow my blog? No, it isn't. Because I've told you this is how it's going to play out. Okay, and it is going exactly the way I've explained to you because I know the Federal Reserve's plan. I know their end game. I know their goal. I know what they're working towards. I don't know what another way to put this. Look, I know people everywhere, okay? And I'm telling you the way it is. Or you can live in a fantasy land and believe what I'm telling you is not true. Look at my record. It almost seems like I have some kind of psychic ability. I don't, okay? I don't have any kind of psychic ability. I just have the ability to maybe put things together in such a way that they actually do happen because it's so easy. Once you understand the end game, everything you're seeing right now becomes very real and very clear. You understand? I hope I'm making sense here to you. I really, really do. So understand that the environment we are in, we haven't seen anything yet. Nothing. And the rigging of the market, again today, they float out a Fed president, as predicted, talking about massive more debt. Boom, stocks go up. So this is. It's good. This mechanism will continue until it doesn't. Now, I want to talk a little further here, okay? I know this is getting kind of long, but I want you to bear with me. All this market cares about is more easy money, more stimulus, and suppressed rates. This environment is so powerful for the market that, again, I'm going to say what I've been saying for the longest time. They could split the earth in half. But as long as this mechanism is in place, stocks will gain. So I want you to understand that I know a lot of you are confused. A lot of you don't understand. But if you know the goal, if you know the end game, if you know the mechanism behind it, which I just outlined for you, it should become clear to you. Okay? Let me say this too. Every day, I wake up, I check my emails. I get people telling me, Greg, you're wrong in the market. I'm going short. I'm going against your advice. Invariably, these people write back to me and say, Greg, I got destroyed. I got crushed. I wish I would have listened to you. If you've been listening to me, if you've been subscribing to my newsletter, there is a link down here. Why do I keep pushing my newsletter? It's 100% free. Okay. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it again, but ask anybody who follows my newsletter if Greg is telling the truth about his trades. Every single one of them, there's over 30,000, will tell you, yes, Greg is not lying to you. Okay, so don't take my word for anything. I know the game. I know the game, and I can tell. That's why I can say this too. Look, right now, all the market cares about is more easy money, suppressed rates, more stimulus. It doesn't matter who wins the next election. I already told you how I think it's going to go. But if Joe Biden were to win, okay, you can say Greg is wrong here, but until you get 1/10 as accurate as I have been about this market, keep your mouth shut. If Joe Biden were to win, stocks would melt up on an epic scale. Why? Even more easy money, more stimulus, more suppressed rates for as far as the eye can see and beyond. And that's all the market cares about. Again, split the earth in quarters. Doesn't matter. As long as this mechanism is in place, It does not matter who sits behind the Resolute desk. It's all about easy money. It's about the Fed takeover. This is a world takeover, okay? Listen for the lies. Yield curve control. Whatever excuse they must give to borrow. When you hear any politician saying, we need more debt, the Fed needs to do more, we need to go negative with rates, whatever it might be, understand what they're doing. They're playing the Federal Reserve's game. And the Fed is pulling the strings on all of them. You got it? All right. Love you a lot. Long video. Please let me know what you think. And don't you dare try to tell me I'm wrong if Biden were to win. Because I guarantee you I will laugh in your face in the offered chance that he does become president and you watch this market. Because I know this market. And if you know my work, you can't deny it. It's all I do. I study it all the time. And if you just know the mechanism behind it, you'll realize that a farm animal could sit in the White House and be president. I don't care what kind of a farm animal. It doesn't matter. It could be an insect, a reptile. Probably is a reptile, if you get my drift. It could be anything. It could be an inanimate object like this, sitting behind the Resolute desk. It does not matter. As long as more easy money is promised to this market, as long as rates are suppressed, as long as more stimulus is called for, stocks will go up as long as the Fed's balance sheet balloons. Should be simple. Okay, if you don't get it and you still think I'm wrong, well then you need to up your medication. I'm out of here. Love you a lot.